Math Lesson 83. All right, so don't forget you need your textbook, workbook, pencils, and paper. We are going to start with mixed number operations with addition and subtraction. I'm going to write up here an equation. Here we have two mixed numbers, 4 and 4/12 and 5 and 10/12. The type of equation is addition. So our equation is 4 and 4/12 plus 5 and 10/12. So let's work the fraction piece first. With a fraction, we need to make sure if we're adding or subtracting, the denominator always stays the same. Our denominator for this equation, 12. And the next piece is adding up the numerators, 4 and 10. 4 plus 10 is 14. What do we know about 14/12? It's a top-heavy fraction, meaning there will be leftovers. But we'll come back to that later. 5 plus 4 is 9. Right now we have 9 and 14/12. But as we said before, 14/12 is a top-heavy fraction, meaning there's leftovers. So we can turn this into 1, and to do this we do 14 minus 12, which is 2. And our denominator will stay the same. So now we know we have 9 plus 1 and 2/12, which equals 10 and 2/12. All right, let's do more. Next up, we have 3 and 4/5 and 8 and 3/5. This is going to be an addition equation. First off, we'll work the fractions. What do we know about them? The denominator has to stay the same when you're adding. In this case, we have fifths. Up next, we need to add our numerators. 4 plus 3 is 7. Keep in mind, that's a top-heavy fraction, 7/5. So, before we split that up, let's add up 8 and 3. 8, 9, 10, and 11. 8 plus 3 is 11. So now we have 11 and 7/5. So let's break this up. Our top-heavy fraction, we know there's 1 in there, and 7 minus 5 is 2. 2/5. Now we can add 11 and 1 and 2/5. When you do that, I'm going to write this a different way. We can stack it like so. Add that together, and you have 12 and 2/5. All right, next one. We have 9 and 2/7 plus 11/7. There's no whole number on the second number. So together we can add 11 and 2, but let's keep a habit. Denominator first stays the same, which is 7. And then we can do 11 plus 2, which is 13. There's our top-heavy fraction. So Now we have 9 plus nothing, but before we do that, let's split up our fraction first. We know that we have 1 in here. And what's left over? 6. So now I know I can do 9 plus 1 6/7, which equals 10 6/7. All right, let's do another. One more before we move on. We have 17 5/11 and 10 8/11. Denominator first stays the same, 11. Next, 8 plus 5, 8. Grab 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13/11. Adding these two numbers together, we have 27. In this fraction, we have 1, and then 13 minus 11 is 2. Denominator stays the same. Now we can add these two together. So we have 28 and 2/11. That is how you do mixed number operations using addition. All right, so next we're going to move into exponents, division by a base tens. So, as I get the board ready, you're going to work problems that divide by 10, 100, and 1,000. Here's our first number, fraction. Again, you're going to work problems that divide by 10, 100, and 1,000. Here we have 8 divided by 10. 8 divided by 10. When you divide by 10, you move the decimal point one place to the left to make the number smaller. So we're trying to make this number smaller, and we're moving it to the left. Here we have left. To make the number smaller. So I'm going to turn this into 8/10. So I moved the decimal that was here, and I moved it over 1. Think of it, 1 0 here, move it over 1 there, giving me 8/10. Next one is 8/100. Notice how I'm saying the same answer. 8 and over 100. 100 divided by 8. I'm going to move it 2 places. Put 1 dash here, 1 here. So now I know I can move this decimal, that would be right there, to the left 2 places, 2 zeros. So going 1, 2, I'm going to have 8/100. Notice my digit is in the hundredths place. This is in the tenths. Not tens, tenths. Hundredths. I'll add the THS there. All right, next one. 8 over 1,000. How many places do you think I'm going to go to the left? 3. 3 zeros. Move it 3 places to the left. Left, that way. So, there's my answer. And notice, it's in the thousandths place. Not thousands, thousandths. THS at the end. So, here are some practice problems. Problem A. These are going to be tricky. 47 and 10 to the power of 3. Here we have 6,931 over 10 to the second power. And here we're going to have 2 and 81 hundredths over 10 to the power of 2. So we're going to start with this one. 47 divided by 10 to the power of 3. How many places do we need to move the decimal point? What number's here? 3. We need to move the decimal place 3 places. That is our clue in. 3. I'll put 3 lines underneath it. So the decimal that is here right now is going to go 3 places to the left. Remember, we're moving things to the left. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Boom. Giving me the answer 047. 47 thousandths. Next one. We have 2 and 81 hundredths over 10 to the power of 2. How many decimal places do you think I need to move that decimal? Notice, it's right here right now. 2 places. So, I'm going to move it 1, 2. Giving me the number just like so. All right, next one. 6,931 divided by 10 to the power of 2. How many places am I moving my decimal? Remember, again, decimal's right there. 2 places, because it's to the power of 2. So I'm going to move it 1, 2, giving me the number 69 and 31 hundredths. So you are going to open your workbook to lesson 83 and find part 1. So on lesson 83, in your workbook, part 1. In there, you have these same type of problems. There is 5 problems there for you to do. We will do the first 2 together. I'll write them on the board. A is 24 over 10 to the 3rd power. B, 3 and 8 hundredths over 10 to the 3rd. C, and D, and E, remember, we're moving the decimal places to the left. I'm going to do these 2 for you, so you should be following along. You're going to do these 3 on your own. You'll be submitting these to me, the answers, in a message on Class Dojo today. This will show that you've been doing your class work when you should have. So, this first one, 24 divided by 10 to the 3rd power. I need to move the decimal 3 places. 1, 2, 3. Remember, it starts there. So, there's my answer. Up next, 10 to the 3rd, 3. Notice the decimal's here right now. 1, 2, 3. My answer, 0, 0, .308. So you need to do these three on your own. Don't forget you're moving the decimal to the left. So I would suggest now pausing the video, doing these three problems, post them on JoJo, and then you'll be good to go for now. Now let's move to fraction analysis. I need to write some fractions on the board. You are going to add 1 to these fractions and tell me the fraction you end up with. Here we have 4/8. The fraction again is 4/8. The fraction is eighths. So if you add 1, you add 8/8. What fraction of 1 do you add? 8/8. So we're adding 1 to these, don't forget. So I'm going to be adding 8/8. Here we have 3/5. I'm going to do this in a different color. We're going to add, we have 3/5. So the 1 that we'll be adding to this is going to be 5/5. Here we have 2/3. The fraction that we'll be adding that equals 1 to this one is 3/3. What's cluing me in on this? The denominator for each of these. It's going to be the denominator over itself as the numerator. So here I have 5/9. My denominator, 9ths. What equals 1 with a denominator of 9? 9. And here we have 2/16. My fraction that equals 1, 16/16. How do I know? The denominator matches each one. How do I know what number goes up top? For the numerator on all of these, because I want that to equal 1. This equals 1 whole, this equals 1 whole, this equals 1 whole, that equals 1 whole. So does that. They all equal 1. 1 whole fraction. So, this time you'll tell me the fraction you end up with. The fraction is 8ths right here. Here we have 4/8, the fraction is 8ths. So what fraction of 1 do you add? 8/8. What fraction do you end up with when you add these together? So now we're going to add all of these to each other. Here we get 12/8. I'll do that in a darker color. We get 12/8. Here, 5 plus 3, 8/5. Here, 3 plus 2, 5/3. 9 plus 5, grab 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 9ths. And 16 plus 2 is 18/16. Now, we've added them all together. We've added the fraction to the whole number fraction of itself. 4/8 plus 8/8 equals 12/8. 3/5 plus 5/5 equals 8/5. Adding, adding, and adding. Now, find part 2 in your workbook. You'll write fractions that are 1 more than the fraction shown. Remember, if the fraction you start with is 4ths, you'll add 4/4. So, part 2 in your workbook. Let's practice more of these. So, in part 2, workbook, we have 5/8, 2/3, 6/10, 4/5, and 7/9. What we're going to do is we're going to add the whole number fraction that equals 1 next to it. Remember, when you're adding or subtracting fractions, the denominator always has to stay the same. This is what we just did. So, what whole number fraction am I going to add to this? That equals 1, 8/8. Adding them together. What am I going to add here? 3/3. What am I going to add here? 10/10. What am I going to add here? Oops, that should be adding. 5/5. And here we're going to have 9/9. What does this equal? Grab 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13/8. 5/3. 16/10. 9/5. And 16/9. This is part 2 in your workbook. We just did this together. You should be able to write this down on your paper when you turn it in. All right, now let's move on to expressions. Expressions. So, let me write this new equation on the board. 3 parentheses 14 minus 6. Now, here's a new kind of problem. What I just wrote on the board is a new kind of problem. I'll read it. 3 times the quantity 14 minus 6. Once more. 3 times the quantity of 14 minus 6. So, reading it again, we have 3. When it's put up a parentheses like this, that means multiply. The symbol doesn't have to be there. So 3 times the quantity of 14 minus 6. So, I'm going to put up some more examples. Next one. 3, I'm not solving these, I'm just giving you more examples of different expressions. 3 times the quantity of 40 plus 60. Next, 3 times the quantity of 15 divided by 5. Another one, 20 times 10 times half. Next, 2 times 17 plus 10 minus 7. So, let me read these again to you. These are expressions. This one, repeat after me. 3 times the quantity 40 plus 60. Your turn. All right, next one. 3 times the quantity 15 divided by 5. Your turn. Next one. 3 times quantity 15 divided by 5. Next one. 20 times the quantity 10 times 1/2. Your turn. Next. 2 times the quantity 17 plus 10 minus 7. Let's review these again. 3 times the quantity 14 minus 6. 3 times the quantity 40 plus 60. 3 times the quantity 15 divided by 5. 20 times the quantity 10 times 1/2. 2 times the quantity 17 plus 10 minus 7. Here's how you work these problems. First, you figure out the quantity inside the parentheses. The parentheses part comes first. It always comes first. So, first you figure out the quantity inside the parentheses. Then you multiply the number outside the parentheses. Once you solve the inside, you multiply it by what's on the outside. You're multiplying because you don't need the symbol for multiplication here. All right, so what do you figure out first? The quantity inside the parentheses. What do you do next? Multiply it by the outside number. So, let's work on the first one. Here we have 3 times the quantity of 14 minus 6. So, first, I need to subtract 14 minus 6. What is 14 minus 6? Well, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. That equals 8. So my new equation is going to be 3 times 8. And what does 3 times 8 equal? 24. All right, up next. We have 3 times the quantity of 40 plus 60. And what is 40 plus 60? Remember, parentheses comes first. 100. So now we have 3 times 100. And what is 3 times 100? 300. Next one. Three times the quantity of 15 divided by 5. First up, parentheses, what's 15 divided by 5? 3. So, our new equation, 3 times 3, which is 9. So, remember, the first thing we figure out is the parentheses. Then we work on the outside, which is multiplying. 3 times the quantity of 15 divided by 5. So, up next. Next problem. 20 times the quantity of 10 times 1/2. What do we know about this? We work the parentheses first. And what is 10 times 1/2? 5. 10 times 1/2 is the same as saying 10 divided by 2. You're splitting this in half, which is 5. So now our new problem is 20 times 5. And what is 20 times 5? 100. All right. Last one. We have 2 times the quantity of 17 plus 10 minus 7. So, what we need to do first is solve the inside of the parentheses. Notice this time, it's not only 3 numbers, but 2 different kinds of equations. We have addition and subtraction. So, order of operations, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. So, order of operations, I have my parentheses. I know that comes first. Then what I need to do is solve the inside. What comes first in my order of operations inside there? Addition. Comes before subtraction. So first, I want to add 17 plus 10, which is 27. So in here, I now have 27 minus 7, which equals 20. And what am I multiplying it by? The outside? 2. And what is 2 times 20? 40. Boom. All right. We are going to switch gears now. Up next, we have fraction word problems. Feel free to fast forward the video to where I have this set up. So, a person starts out with 5/3 quarts, a unit of measurement, of milk. We use quarts for liquid volume, hence the milk. The person divides the milk into 8 equal, so there's going to be no remainders, servings. How much milk is in each serving? Question. So we know when we work this problem with 8 and 5/3, we're going to have an equal amount, meaning no remainders. So I'll reread the problem. A person starts out with 5/3 quarts of milk. The person divides the milk into 8 equal servings. How much milk is in each serving? So the person starts out with 5/3 quarts. How many equal servings does the person divide 5/3 into? 8. 8 equal parts. So I need to work the problem 5/3 divided by 8. And what do I know? To do a division fraction, I need to swap it. Because I know that this is 8/1 right now. So to solve it, I need to turn this into 5/3 times 1/8. And then what do? Multiply straight across, giving me 5/24 quarts. This is what you should have. Don't forget to label your answer. You can even go further and say quarts of milk. If this was a test, you'd say quarts of milk divided into each serving. All right, next one. Again, Again, feel free to fast forward the video to where I have this all written out. Here we have Millie has 7/3 pounds of grapes. She divides them into 4 equal servings. How many pounds are in each serving? That should be a question. So to set this up, how many pounds of grape does she have in the beginning? 7/3. 7/3. And what is she dividing it by? So 7/3, 4 equal servings. Divided by 4. We know that's the same as 4/1. So this, to solve it, I need to turn this into the reciprocal. Giving me 7/3 times 1/4, which equals 7/12 pounds of grapes per serving. Solved. All right, next up. I'm gonna write this up here, another one. A painter uses 5½ gallons of paint to cover 3 identical, oops, that's spelled wrong, identical walls. How much paint is used on each wall? There's our question. On each wall. So what we're going to do, what are we working with? 5/2 and 3. So I have 5/2 divided into 3. 3 identical walls. 3 walls. So to do that, I need to turn this into its reciprocal. So I will have 5/2 times 1/3, which equals 5/6 gallons. How do I know it's gallons? Because it tells me right here. Gallons of what? Gallons of paint. Complete answers are key. All right, that's enough of this. So let's switch gears again into averages. So you'll remember from lesson 82 when we started discussing averages. Some new information. So, last time you learned about averages. To find the average, you add and then divide. You add up all the numbers and then divide by how many numbers are there. If you divide the average of 4 things, what do you divide by? 4. If you divide by the average of 11 things, what do you divide by? 11. So, what this is going to ask us, I'm going to create a new chart. What is the average distance Mia walked? So here we're going to have miles walked. Here's Mia. And this is going to be split into 3 parts. We have Monday. Let's drop this a little bit. Mia. Here we have Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On this day, we had 18 miles, 24, and 27. So, we're going to turn this, that was my mistake, into April, May, and June. Makes a lot more sense because walking 18 miles in one day, it takes up a lot of time. So, what we're going to do is we're going to solve this. What is the average distance Mia walked? Well, here's her 3 months that she walked. April, May, and June. So we got to add these up. We have 18 and 24. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 27. So we have 69 miles. What do I need to do with that number? Divided by how many? 1, 2, 3. There's 3 numbers, so I divide it by 3. Divided by 3. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 3 goes into 9 3 times. Miles is her average. All right. So we know that her average distance for the 3 months is 23 miles. Now we're going to switch gears and we're going to add a new person in here. So over here I'm going to write the average is 23 miles for her. Actually, let's write it here. Mia average equals 23 miles. Now, here we're going to have Mia's best friend come into the picture, Eli. And Eli has walked quite a bit. So Eli has walked 25 miles in April, 31 miles in May, 15 miles in June, and to top things off, he went an extra month. So she was 0 there. 21 miles in July. So now I need to add up Eli's to find out his average. His is going to be different because guess what? Mia only walked 3 months, so we divided by 3. Eli walked 4 months, so what do we need to divide by? 4. So let's add these up. 25, 31, add those together, and then add 15, add 21, so 92 miles. Divided by what number? 5, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put the 4 there. 4 goes into 9 2 times because 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract that 1. Bring that down. And then we will, that should be 92. So we have 92, 8, 1, bring that down, 4 goes into 12, 3 times. 23 miles. Look at that. Same average. Eli. Now, in comes new girl, Miss Amy. Amy's new. Amy hasn't had as much time to walk all these miles. So, we have Eli. Now we're gonna have Amy. She's new. Her record's not gonna be so great because she didn't get here till June. Nothing here, nothing here. But she did walk 16 miles in June and 22 miles in July. So, what do I need to divide her number by when I add them up? 2. 16 plus 22 is 38. Now I need to do 38 divided by 2. She only did 2 months. 38 divided by 2. 2 goes into 3 one time. 2, 1, bring that down. 8, 2 goes into 18, 9. What's Amy's average? 18 miles. $19 miles, sorry. My answer was 19. So, that is how you figure out averages. You add up the numbers that it gives you, then you divide by however many numbers it gave you. So I add 18 plus 24 plus 27 divided by 3 for Mia. For Eli, I add 25, 31, 15, and 21 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4. Amy, I add up 16 and 22 and divide it by 1, 2. That is how you figure out an average. So you are going to open your textbook to lesson 83 and find part 1. Problem A shows the weight of 4 boxes. The weights are 22 pounds, 45 pounds, and 12 pounds and 50 pounds. So I'm going to set that up for you.